like Kobe died at the beginning of this year, which was like devastating. It was like such a horrible way to die. And I think that kind of really like in some way kind of kind of showed people to like hold your loved ones close, and like time isn't like to be taken for granted. Like he flew on a helicopter the same route as he always did to his daughter's basketball games, and then like they just didn't make it one day. And then, you know, of course we put off, you know, taking COVID-19 seriously, and it's kind of just like I remember thinking of COVID-19 in like January and February is just kind of like this like myth, like something that was, you know, that I was like untouchable to, because I was in, you know, a country with what I thought had good health care, you know, for those who had like insurance and stuff. But, and then it just came in March and like swept out like everything. I remember, you know, at first, like my last semester was like, I had 2 extra weeks of spring break. And then I was like, oh, by the way, you're not going to see your friends or classmates again, and you're not going to have all the senior stuff you thought you were going to have, and you're not going to have graduation. So I think the initial like hit for, or I guess the initial impact of COVID-19 in America, when everything was closing down like throughout March, like I think that was very like just surprising and like disorienting for people, because nobody was saying the same thing. Everybody, like people were closing, people were not closing. And then by the summer, it was just, you know, everybody was tired of quarantine or still in quarantine or a mixture of both. And then, you know, with like the election, gearing up for the election, that was also very big. And in the summer, we also had all these horrible deaths of people of color, specifically Black men and women. And I think realizing that, or just using social media as a platform to speak in support of that movement, I think really changed a lot of people's mindsets. But I mean, there's still people that, you know, were in support of it just for a fad until, you know, somebody came out and was like, Black Lives Matters, trying to, you know, tear apart the nuclear family or whatever. And then everybody, like COVID, stops taking it seriously. And, you know, it's just, I feel like COVID has been like this weird cycle of like believing and supporting something and then not believing in it. And it's just, I feel like the emotions this year have just been like up and down, because you have like just two polarizing parties and anything going on this year, anything remotely like progressive in our society, like pointing out differences, like, you know, we should be better equipped to handle a global pandemic in our country, and it's clear that we're not. We're a country that is founded on beliefs of freedom and equality for all Americans and equal opportunities, and people just don't have that if you're not white and middle class or up like just, you know, freaking rich. And, you know, with this election, you have people who, you know, still don't believe that you know, immigrants have a right to vote in America, even if they're paying taxes. And, you know, everybody's thinking the election's rigged because I guess people are just so polarized. If it's not in favor of what you personally believe, then you're totally against it. And then, like, honestly, like the election, that was very, I've never been anxious in my 22 years for like a single event like in the country. And maybe it's because I've always been kind of not questioning reality, but like things that like happen around me have never really like hit home personally until like this election, and just thinking about like my personal like beliefs and like politics and everything. Like I was super nervous for the outcome of this election, and a lot of I think everybody was nervous, you know, whether whoever they voted for, it didn't really matter. And then, you know, it's like I don't even know what to expect in 2021, you know, because of what's happened in 2020. It's like, all right, what's going to happen? Like, I feel like inauguration day, like, I'm not even trying to think about it, because it's like everything is like still in that gray area of COVID. Like we're having second spikes across the country, and more people are still dying, and essential workers are still like being seen as heroes, but really it's just like a trophy award for being a disposable person. So I don't know. I just think it's really hard to like kind of try to talk about everything that I think has happened in 2020, but I think like those were most of the highlights for me